what we do to keep the water flowing. The more you give, the more it keeps growing. I don't want your gifts, I don't want your charity. I just want to see some other love and prosperity. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. I make my living by the sweat of my brow, the strength of my voice and my lyrical know-how. I work hard, I spend freely. I'm not rich, but damn, am I dearly placed to take a virtue and preach it to the masses. The fruits of my labor I use to fill glasses. Life is for the living is the message I'm selling. The scent of success is the aroma you're smelling. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. Old baskets might sound funny, but the truth is wealth's not just about money. It's the push and the pull and the give and the take. It's the things that we share and the joy that we make. Give me your attention, I'll give you my time. Lend me your ears and I'll fill them with rhymes. I'll give you words to make your soul burn and take your breath away in return. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. 18 rings, 6 coins to my name, but with 18 rings then I can change the game. Flip them over, turn them around. Oh shit, look, I turned them into a crown. Make it dance, make it work for you. Coin is for the spending, if you scatter it then you'll reap the profits of the seeds you've sown. What do you know, look, I turned it into a throne. We do what we do to keep the water flowing. The more you give, the more it keeps growing. I don't want your gifts, I don't want your charity. I just want to see some other love and prosperity. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. I make my living by the sweat of my brow, the strength of my voice and my lyrical know-how. I work hard, I spend freely. I'm not rich, but damn, am I dearly placed to take a virtue and preach it to the masses. The fruits of my labor I use to fill glasses. Life is for the living is the message I'm selling. The scent of success is the aroma you're smelling. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round. The wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning, the wheel keeps turning round. If the water won't flow, then the crops don't grow, so the wheel keeps turning round.
Is that done? So that done. Hello everyone, and I've got to turn that off. I had the Twitch on my TV over there, so I'll constantly stare at it. We're going to do another chat. We've been doing quite a few of these. This one is going to be about the virtues and other heresies, as I like to call it. We've got some people here who are a lot more experienced with virtues and things like that than I am. Hey, thank you, Liam. Liam
Not him.
subscribed. Thanks very much. So we'll let everybody do the introductions. We'll let the people who actually know about all of this stuff do the introductions, and then Adam can introduce himself.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it.
So do introductions. Whoever wants to go first, feel free.
Go, Mim, go.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Mim, and I play in the League. I play a character called Nora Van Holberg, who is a priest of courage. I do a lot of political synod game. I am the clerk to the Assembly of Nine, which is the 8 cardinals of the virtues plus the way and the throne. So I'm in at all their meetings and spend my time around them a lot. So that's me.
Excellent.
I'm Ginny. I play Viviane de Cordofa. I'm a priest of ambition. I am currently the cardinal. I've been the gatekeeper before. I'm looking forward to what's going to come next. I priest game so much. It's great.
Excellent.
I will froth forever about it.
Excellent. Well, you will get to do that. You will get to do that this evening. Believe me. Adam, go for it.
Hello, my name is Adam. I play in Navarre. I play a character called Saros Splitroot. Saros is not a priest in any capacity. He has an impact on the religion game. I think that's fair to say. In that his acts are frequently the topic of discussion by priests. And probably the closest I've come to directly interacting with the priest game is in clemency claims. It's probably the closest I've come to it. So yes,
Sure.
that is me, and that is Saros.
Excellent. That's fantastic. So, I'm Steve. I play Mac, and I have been inquisited a lot.
Just rub it in.
That will be my input to this. Everyone will be like, "Do this. This is great. This is great." Adam will be, "I do this," and I'll just be like, "Yeah, I just no, just don't do what they say. Don't do what I do."
Always
So,
do. Always
yes,
do. That's the
always
answer.
do. So, I don't know a huge amount when it comes to the religion side of things and everything else within the game. I probably couldn't even name all the virtues thinking about it.
Do you want a cheap ass 101?
I would have failed the citizenship test. Let's put it that way. I should still be at the academy. I think that's the best way to describe it. So, what would you? So we've got, because we have quite a few new people in chat who haven't been and stuff like that. How would you describe the virtues, the religion in the game to them?
So the way of virtue, out of character, is very, very roughly the mechanic that says, here's how we, the game designers, think you can have more fun.
Yeah.
That's literally it. There are 7 virtues. Ambition, which is pick a thing that you want to do, find something that you actually want to achieve, and get other people to help you with it. Courage, don't not do a thing because you're worried about it. Just do it. Pony up. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. Just do the thing because it's cooler. Loyalty. Stick with your mates. It's more fun that way. Have strong opinions. It's more fun that way. Pride. You get to be the hero of the story. You are always the hero of your story, and that's good. Go.
Everyone who follows Pride, they are the main visitors to the hospital.
Really?
As well. Yeah, that was.
I'm stunned. I'm genuinely stunned because I know an awful lot of others.
That was literally a discussion that was had in the hospital stream. People who follow Pride, they are at the hospital a lot.
One of the tenets of Pride is, once you've done a thing, keep on proving yourself. You don't get to sit on your past glories. Get on with it. Keep doing it. Keep lasting. Prosperity. Stuff is more fun if you spend it. If you have cookies, use them. If you have mana, eat it. If you have coins, burn them. Do stuff
You
with
have now get high. I think I would also add one of the things that really struck me when I started playing Empire was that the religion was totally godless. There were foreign nations surrounding the Empire, like Asavea, and they had gods. We didn't have any gods, and I originally wasn't that into it because I'd come out of a tradition of LARP, which was very full of clerics with big gods in the kind of D&D sort of mode. And actually it's brilliant. It is, as Jenny says, very behavior based. It's around inciting behavior, conflict, and people banding together in equal measure, I think. But it also it does have spiritual forces that have been almost scientifically proven to exist, just no gods. And those spiritual forces come into play if you behave in a particularly active way. So the more courageous you are, sometimes spontaneous auras spring up on your stuff. That's rare and that's a miracle, but that can happen. And yeah, you can get priests to hop you up on a particular virtue to make you more likely to be more go-getting in your behavior. So it took me a while to really realize how full of game hooks this godless religion was, and also how zealous you can get about it. You can get really zealous about a thing like vigilance, and you don't need a god in the game to do it. And that's fascinating to me. I think it's really interesting.
It's
I'm going to say to us all that we all now need to be on our best behaviour, because Profound Decisions has just followed and is probably in chat watching. So, hi.
All right, Matt.
Whoops, there we go. So everyone needs to best behaviour. On that note, I would like to promote the idea of Mac for a god.
no,
It's
disagree.
That's fine.
Oh, it's not Matt necessarily. It's
No,
someone
it's
who's
someone
on
else.
the
It doesn't
TV
matter.
account.
It got a laugh.
He might
We'll leave it.
just be saying that. It might
Yeah.
still be him.
But it's
Steve? Did you say Matt or Mac?
Mac.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That's his character.
Yeah.
So
Um.
one of the reasons that there is no god is because you get to define yourself. You get to have control of your destiny. You are this is how you make your story. You are the ultimate arbiter of what you get to do as a player and as a character. Nothing's gonna impose an idea on top of you. Eternals as gods.
This is interesting. So, Eternals as gods, I genuinely misread the Eternals brief in the first year when I came to play, and I proper went off on one in character, like, oh, watching everything we do, and proper like worried someone who was like, what weird heresy is this? So they're not quite god. In my head, the Eternals are more like well, some of them anyway, are more like the fairies in the Midsummer Night's Dream. They are these hugely powerful beings that we don't fully understand. And some people worship them, and those people are cultists. And they have some of them have some quite godlike powers over things like the weather and stuff.
Have you seen a TV series called The Almighty Johnsons?
No.
It's a Kiwi TV series based around gods, mainly the Norse gods, and how they have all been reborn into this world, into this family. On your 21st birthday, you go through a ritual and you become one of the gods, but you don't have your full powers. So, like, my favourite within the series is Thor, because he is so funny. He is a goat farmer, he's a nutter, and he carries around like a literal little like Black and Decker hammer thing. That's Mjolnir, and that's it. It's really, really good, and they take their thoughts on it. But for me, when we talk about heralds, that is my view on what they are. They are people who are there. They are all powerful, but if they send a herald or something like that to come along, I'm more often than not, I'm kicking the shit out of it.
Interestingly, going back to the Eternals as gods thing, is one of the foreign nations, and I don't remember which, does have a pantheon of gods which roughly correlate to the Eternals.
So
Is that right?
There's a number.
There's
that
a few.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Like, for instance, the Iron Confederacy has things that look a lot like Night Eternals if you squint at them funny. There are stories that an awful lot of Sumar paragons might look an awful lot like. Oh, thank you. Apparently, it's Asphere.
Astavaea have the Great Temple of the Bull and all that, don't they? They feel
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
They always
mean,
remind me a bit of ancient Knossos, even though that's not actually what they're based on. Because they have a big bull, which is also very biblical, you know, the golden calf and all that, and Baal and the
We've got a couple of questions already.
Eternals
as
is
well.
way out of our league.
Excellent questions coming in.
So, if this is going to be anything like the hospital stream, I'm going to lose track of everything.
That's cool.
So,
How it goes.
so being that there is no set god, like which was stated, what challenges does that set, if any, within Empire?
So, one of the doctrines, the doctrine of the Creator, says the Creator created us and then set us to run wild and free. That we have absolute control of our own destiny. Fundamentally, it takes away expectations and gives you a lot more freedom. So a lot of fantasy worlds like D&D and the like have clerics and stuff that follow gods. There are specific gods. You do quests for gods. Here, you pick your story. You're not told what to do. You act. You don't react. And that, to me, is a massive, massive part of I see what virtue is, and O see how to have fun in the field.
That said, I do react frequently with horror and appalledness to other people's unvirtuous actions. So you'll find you'll get in the field, pick a virtue if you want to play priest. You'll get in there, and someone will do something very quickly that your character considers to be unvigilant or not courageous enough. And it's actually remarkably easy to get into fights, but it's also remarkably easy to big other people up. So if you go to the hub, which is the big tent in the middle of Anvil on the field, that is where the priests go to post a thing called a statement of principle, which is you put up a piece of paper. You're allowed one per event, I think. Yeah, which advances a point, a bit like a motion, but not a motion. And other priests who have congregations can then vote on it. And if your statement of principle carries, that then affects the game, particularly if it carries with something called a greater majority. So anyway, I have definitely been hanging around in the hub and heard two people looking at the board that's covered in the statements of principle and being like, well, that's crap. That's I can't believe the assembly of the league would post that. It's an affront. And then other people were like, I don't think it is an affront actually, sir. I think it's a pretty valid point. I think that city in Navarre should join the league. And then there was a big fight, and you were then able to just step in and go, yes, sir, I agree with your point. So I stood up in the League National Assembly and said, that judgment was saucy. It was a saucy gambit. And then there was, are you calling my father's judgment a saucy gambit? And we went off on one, and it was brilliant. And the whole thing led back to this one person who I've never met in character or out of characters, Synod Judgment. So they make so much game. So I think to get back to the question, there doesn't actually have to be a god. The challenges are remembering that in your language, which I think leads on very neatly to the question. There's a question about what do you use as an alternative to phrases like "oh God."
Yes.
And I have loads of answers. I'm going to let someone else chat for a bit.
Virtues is usually good.
Yeah, by the virtues is good, but it's definitely hard to remove that language from your go-tos, because that's always when you're surprised or passionate or whatever. And so to train yourself out of that is very hard, and I haven't managed to do it fully at all. And that's not a problem necessarily. I think some things that people are worried about are misstepping or saying something that's wrong or heretical and just immediately being executed for it. And that's absolutely not the case of what's going to happen.
No one should be jumping on you for the odd "oh my God" in play. I think that wouldn't be very fair, because we're all "oh my godding" all the time.
Yeah.
I hope we should do this. That's a false virtue. No, shut up.
Oh my God. I just "oh my God" about that. But I will say there are some great ones, and it's worth spending a bit of time thinking about it. So there's a medieval tradition of swearing that's really easy to adapt for Empire. People were often going, God's thumbs, Christ's teeth. You know, you pick a body part. So my character wanders around muttering Pride's thumbs at every opportunity. Genuinely, I also have little tics like, well, I think way willing, I would like to go home soon, and things like that. So I'm from a Catholic family. My mother is forever yelling Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, saints alive, and things. So I do a lot of paragons for friend that such a thing would ever be true. So there are plenty of things you can do using the same linguistic structures. That you need to like find and replace gods with paragons, exemplars, and the way you can personify the way as having thumbs. I think certainly individual virtues.
One of the things I quite like is get lost.
Yeah,
Really simple and really powerful because
Such
you
a
get lost in the
brutal
labyrinth.
thing
In
to
the
say.
labyrinth.
Yeah.
It's really strange because you I think this is showing where I think my game personally is lacking here, because you'll have these wonderful things that you say to people. It's like an insult and anything like that. It's you get carried with all this stuff. I just gotta get fucked.
That's totally legit.
That's it.
Entirely valid.
Yeah.
I see things
Yeah.
to say. Yeah.
I have so many insults for people that nothing to do with virtues or anything like that.
Doesn't have to be.
I told people. I heard a member of the Abazdan say this insult once. It was Ulrich Abazdan. He went off to argue with someone, and I was supporting him. And,
this is Navarre for
that
the
was
audience.
in the Navarre, and he literally turned round to someone and he said, "Your mum should have swallowed you." And I'm like, I'm using that every single event at least 8 times.
So anyway,
it was brutal.
I play a very genteel leaguer.
So we have. So that we've been asked the this is going to be I think this is one that was always going to get asked. I was just waiting for it. What is the best virtue?
There is no answer to that. There's literally no answer to that. The 7 true virtues are all of them massive game makers. Whatever suits you, you do you. I mean,
You know, it took me a while to get to courage.
Mm.
Sorry, that was rude of me. So
Everyone
I
gets
started
to-
out being
What?
I
The,
started out being
um,
dedicated to prosperity, and then I spent 2 or 3 years dedicated to prosperity, and then I switched to courage. So your needs as a character might change. You know, my character got kind of radicalized. She got really angry about a load of stuff that she considered to be bad that the Empire was doing, and so she joined the Courage Assembly to rail against those things. And because one of the Courage doctrines is that you must face unwelcome truths, so in that spirit I switched virtue. So you might find yourself doing that, and that's legit too. I wanted to answer the question about behavior. So someone's written, so for example, my character is very ambitious. Does that mean if I have a friend I see that does something that I consider to be unambitious, I should generate conflict? I was necessarily, all the examples I've used are conflict, but I think that says more about me than anyone else. I think that there's also been some wonderful moments I've had where I've been feeling really low in character, and a priest has come over to me and given me an anointing to make me feel more able to cope in character. Because there's a lot of bereavement at Empire, isn't there? So I think you don't necessarily have to attack them. If you're a priest, I would imagine that you're probably quite interested in role play around supporting other characters in their religious development and attitudes. So you might want to sit your friend down and ask them what their ambitions are and how you can help them work that out. And you know, you don't actually have to bash your mate in character. Not all priests have to be like angry zealots that are waving big books around and yelling and condemning people.
So all of the virtues have really, really strong senses of build other people up, don't tear them down. Each virtue does have one specific thing that it says, this is a bad thing. For ambition, it's despise anyone who doesn't actually do anything. But what it does also do is say, find ways to help them. The
Yeah, every
number of
single virtue has a negative one that's like despise somebody for doing a crappy thing, and also a positive one that says no, don't tear someone to shreds. And you sort of have to find the balance, and that's really fascinating because if you go too far in one direction, another priest may well come over and provide the other direction of role play. So I've definitely gone up to people and gone, don't tear that person down, and they've been going, well, I think he's being a coward. So those discussions come up in play. Yeah.
How do we get glory made a virtue? Well, so funny story. I am Dornish, or I play Dornish anyway. In short, you get a greater majority of the General Assembly to agree. In long, let's talk on the field, yeah? Because I think that we can have a whole conversation about that.
Yeah. But
Yay for Dawn, says Ben. Yay for Dawn.
Absolutely.
Ben has got so much to do on his first event when we get into a field. He has got so much to do.
Well, welcome to Empire, mate.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you spot us in the field, come say hey.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
If we go back up, we've got Matt Daweswood. He's asked the question.
What do you think about the recent doctrines? About the orc doctrines?
Yes,
They make such game.
Yeah, so
brilliant.
I just have to say, for the sake, because I put these all up onto YouTube, so I have to read them out. So everyone watching on YouTube, they can't see what the
question is.
So, wait, naughty. So, what were your feelings on the recently added the doctrine of the Howling Abyss and the doctrine of the Ancestors?
Yeah, they've made such good game. So one of the things that was built in from the start of the game was the doctrine of human destiny, which says humanity is the greatest of all creation, blah 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 blah. Fundamentally, that drives a certain level of that drives a certain level of conflict and gives people stuff to argue about. It's not always fun.
Yeah.
It came out of that fantastic event at one of the Symposium of Revelation, which was a brilliant bit of plot, which came out of a bunch of I think a bunch of players had been doing a lot of work in that area, and then PD released I think a Wind of Fortune that said there was going to be this big symposium. I'm not sure though. It might have been entirely player led. I don't know. Don't at me. It was great. And I think it's brilliant. There was a member of my group that did loads of big speeches in character about the problem of not having any doctrine about the orcs, because the orcs were constantly hearing the voices of their ancestors and unable to teach their children about it without being in contravention of the faith of the way, without something from the way saying that was all right. And I think, to be honest, that bit of plot raises a lot of themes about intercultural relationships, and I think it was actually pretty good that got discussed in the field in a way that not only made a lot of game, but also I think raised some important themes around what do you do when somebody's religious and cultural imperatives are different from yours. So on a more serious note, I think I have no idea how all of it got handled because I didn't play with all of it, but I really enjoyed being around the discussions that took place, some of the meetings around it. I thought they were really good.
Yeah. Awesome. There's we got this is going to be quite an interesting one. What do you say to characters who claim to be atheist or don't believe the labyrinth is where you will end up, when the Empire is a religion of fact, not faith? And how do you guide them towards the correct belief?
You've got options. First, if it's a player character, it is very difficult to say as a player character, I do not think that this is true, because for you it's a bit like saying I think that electricity doesn't work. I don't believe in gravity. Literally a thing.
Earth is
we
flat.
have
I've met characters who had legit reasons to be doing it. So, former slaves who were learning in adulthood how the way worked because they'd grown up and had their formative years, under the rod of the Druge. And so those people, that was really fun to role play with and to kind of slowly watch them having the the way revealed to them, as it were, because this stuff, Liao, has role playing effects. So they get to role play through that and do that story, and that's fine. But I think if there's a chance it's a player going, I'm going to play an atheist, and who actually runs the risk of missing out on all the game because they're going to play so hard against the grain that everyone's just going to give them the same look and the same speech, it might be worth a quick 2 fingers in the air and, mate, are you sure you want to do this? I don't know.
Or on the other hand, you've got people who are foreigners, NPCs or whatever. At that point, you've got a whole different kind of story. So we have evidence, we have information, we have one of the best bits of IC like evidence that we have as player created and player developed is the Seer of the Gateway and all of the gateway reports from the Chu Liao visions, and they're fantastic ways of saying, look, here's like literal proof. I saw my past life and it was like this.
Yeah.
This is it. That
Past life visions are great, by the way. If anyone doesn't know how those are role played in the field, you get put forward for one by the synod, and then the council of gatekeepers have to agree that your character's going to get one, and then basically PD put on a little mini LARP adventure for you. You put on a veil and it's really gauzy and you can't quite see clearly through it, and you drink the liao, and then you go through a dark and mysterious tent, and you have this actual vision with people acting out characters from your past life, and it's really immersive and really good. So I absolutely recommend going for one of those if you feel that your character has performed at a feat that would merit it, or just wants to learn more about themselves.
Have either of you guided someone through that process?
Yes.
What a great question. So I have had a PLV, and Ginny has asked me to be her guide.
Yes.
Lovely.
So I'm going to be her past life vision guide at the next summit. I'm very excited because I've never done guiding before. You can talk about guiding for a bit now if you like.
And it's amazing.
I wish I'd known that and purposefully set that up rather than just being happy coincidence that was
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's a lovely bit of experience for you and the guide priest character. Like, you have this really emotionally intimate moment. I really want to be a guide priest for a total frenemy. I hate you, but I need to know who you were.
Am I not good enough for you? Oh my god.
But we're not frenemies. We're not frenemies. We've got a lot we disagree on, that's true.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's loads of questions. Let's go back a bit and read some of them.
I had
Steve, pick one out for us.
We did last night. We decided in chat that if Mac had a past life, essentially, if Mac is Nikovar in a Mac's past life, he was Nikovar. So that would probably get me executed almost immediately.
No, not at all. There's absolutely no reason that a past life should get you executed.
What might get you in trouble is if you claimed that your past life was something that it wasn't. That's definitely happens in play, hasn't it?
I have that. Yeah, that one's yes.
Yeah. That was great fun.
Yeah.
So, in terms of going through the labyrinth, if you have been very virtuous in your life and died, do you have similarities when making a new character? So, for example, if my previous character had a mask to hide a scar, then does my new character have a scar to highlight a previous self? Not sure if that makes sense. I'll clarify if needed.
So there's two very different things here.
Yeah.
Your past lives are usually separated by a reasonable length of time. I think that the shortest history that we've had, the shortest lapse we've had between past life vision and next life is about 25-30 years. And on top of that, then you get to be born and grow up. Your next character is not a reincarnation of your previous character.
No.
It's because your soul's going to need time to be born and then hit your age.
Yeah.
So the only way you could be reincarnated immediately, and it would be quite miraculous, because you're shot through like a shot. You'd have to be playing a baby, and that's not going to work. So you can't play your previous character. Your new character can't be a reincarnation of your previous character. But But, and I think this is interesting, sometimes what PD will do when they're running a PLV for you is they will look at your character background and, you know, the past life vision team will think about what would be a cool theme. I mean, I'm not going to make claims as to how heavily invested they're going to get. They're busy people. But my character is from Holberg, which is a very German influenced bit of the empire, and my past life was from the Commonweal, and the Commonwealth, they all speak basically German. Their language is fizz-repped by German, as it were. So there was this kind of, and Holberg has an unexplained cultural link with the Commonwealth, so there was this nice line sort of thing.
Yeah.
There was this, you know, we both were very Germanic people, I guess, and that was interesting.
Yeah, so it's
Um,
not like a physical scar, but it is spiritual influences. Your past life, if the PLV team have had the opportunity to do this, will have an impact on it. I've used the analogy before, like muscle memory for the spirit.
Oh, we've
Yeah.
got a point in the chat. There is a character
Yes.
on record who had a
Yeah.
PLV, and when they did the maths, their past life had only died 2 years before he was born. Even so, though, I probably wouldn't gen my new character as a reincarnation of my current character. Like, Nora's not going to reincarnate into another grumpy, stubborn, very feminine character in Vroshka. I'm going to play someone. I'm going to do something totally different.
There's another question there. It says, can something happen when you go to the labyrinth and never come out?
So the answer to that is a qualified maybe. We don't have any clear information. So, I mean, technically, the answer is definitely yes, because you, when you ascend, you go out past the other side of the labyrinth and you're gone. That's you. You're done. To get caught in the labyrinth forever, there are a number of different IC theories relating to a number of different plots that have been run that suggest that there is some shit in the labyrinth.
I definitely think that my character as a child had fights with her siblings where they yelled, "You're so horrible, you're going to be in the labyrinth forever and never come out when you die," because that is a cultural fear I think that a lot of people have in the Empire. So what if I am going rounds and rounds and I don't get to come out because I'm so unvirtuous that it's going to take me ages? But you will come out. The general accepted wisdom is you will pop out eventually and have another go. It's
Just
the
how long it
goal is
takes.
to transcend the whole thing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, or stop me if I'm talking about something that's more live in the field than I'm aware of it being at the moment. But there has been plot around things being in the labyrinth that were stopping people from getting through, right?
Oh yeah, I
So-
was going to bring that up.
Yeah,
There's definitely
so-
been, you know, 1,000 souls have been trapped in a chamber and they can't, you know, or X number of souls and they can't get into the labyrinth properly, or they've been pulled out and they can't, you know, there's ghost plot. There's a ton of ghost plot.
One
You know,
of
this
them-
person's been condemned to wander
scary.
around. An Eternal has cursed them and they're wandering around and we've got to lay them to rest so they can get in the labyrinth. Similarly, there's been a few people who've been approached or who've gotten involved with plot where they have decided to become a herald. The heralds are the attendants of Eternals, and they are killable, but they don't go in the labyrinth, and so there's always lots and lots of controversy there. So my character had a friend who decided that she was going to become a herald for various in-character reasons that made sense to her, and a highborn priest actually tried to slit her throat to stop her becoming a herald, because he believed it would be better if she got to go into the labyrinth, and that anything that impeded her being able to do so was terrible. So
It's
you know,
best trial on record. When the clemency plea on grounds of loyalty was in fact pled by the victim.
were you there for that?
No, I just heard the story a lot.
That was Henry playing Jared. Yes.
I think,
But all of those ghost things. Sorry, just on this thing before we can move on. All of those things are about stopping people getting into the labyrinth.
Yeah.
But I think the question was specifically things that happen to you in the labyrinth, and there has been a plot storyline about that, right? About the Eater of Souls or Eater of Hope or whatever it's called.
we have within the 2 feet, we have a belief, a thought, an idea that one of the corridors within the labyrinth is actually a 2 feet bar. And we do seriously seriously talk about it. And so like when Keaton died, and we all went to his wake and stuff like that, we had a drink for him. It'll be we're not going to see him for ages. He'll get to the bar and he'll be stuck there. So that was the thought behind it all. And it's I think that's down to the striding and the steading though that the 2 feet are, and everyone has their own ideas. And I think that's one of the things I like about that part of it, is that everyone has their own ideology in a way of what everything means and stuff. So I feel sorry for the person who calls me a heretic for it or anything like that, because they're getting stabbed up.
Well, this has been in play, that the thing about your national and personal traditions, and how the synod at large feels about those. So that particularly there's been a lot of friction with the marchers and whether or not you can reincarnate into a tree and all that. Yeah, no, that's been brilliant.
Apple trees. Seriously?
No, but I'm really here for all of this, because I've definitely had experiences with people from other nations that are not mine, because the League is quite orthodox and quite by the book, tends to side mostly with Highguard on these matters. It's been great, going to a Marcher play event and having people say, they want to eat an apple when they're dying, and you've got to plant them, and you've got to grow a tree out of there. You've got to look after the tree and go and talk to the tree. And my character's sitting there going, why would I talk to a tree? That doesn't seem right. You're going to be in the labyrinth. And, I love all of that. I think it's great.
It's very interesting because the Empire as a whole is, broadly speaking, a very authoritarian, quasi-theocracy kind of state to a certain degree, in that if you don't believe it, you are wrong. But the amount of variation...
There's a lot of flex.
Quite a lot. It's very difficult to say that we're an authoritarian theocracy when it's like that. That's a bit like saying Britain is a theocracy because we're all walking because we believe in gravity. What?
And that's what I mean, is that if you read the brief as is, it's like, this is the religion and you must believe it, and if you don't, then you're a heretic and you'll get put to death. And what the actuality of that in the field is, there's an incredible amount of flex in people's personal beliefs and their interpretations of that.
Yes, absolutely.
You totally can still get executed for heresy if you want that tasty drama. You just got to go at it real hard, guys.
I mean, you've got to go at it real hard. Like, real hard.
Like, they can. I definitely think that the language that the wiki uses, these are all words, Inquisition, heresy, these are all words that I read and thought, my goodness, it must be, gosh, the Spanish Inquisition. I definitely thought when I read about there being Inquisitions, I was like, people probably get tied to a chair and interrogated, and maybe they get tortured, and actually it's nothing like that. Inquisition in the game. I think it has more in common with Dragon Age Inquisition than the Spanish Inquisition, but even so, it's much less. It does have vigilantly root out heresy, but it's not. You will actually be tried discursively.
I like to think of Inquisitions in the same way as people talk about traumatic wounds on the battlefield, in that they are a reward for good roleplay.
So, as well as that, thanks to player action, Inquisitions started out just being a pass or fail. Now there's a lot more nuance. Now you can sit there and be like, okay, I condemn you. You did actually do this. Just out. Now you can say, actually, you just need to do this little thing and we'll sort it out. Or you can say, no, you're vindicated. You done good. You done super good. Well done. You can be inquisitioned to say, didn't you do this awesome thing? We want to write a note on the board and make sure everyone knows how amazing you are.
And yes, Matthew says, isn't Inquisition also used for recognition of good things as well as bad? Yes, it is. It can also be used politically to get a clean slate in public, get an endorsement. So, if you're going for the throne, you might want to get inquisited so that there'd be a piece of paper put up, a statement that says we find nothing unvirtuous in the character of X, Y, Z. Type thing.
Virtuous.
All right, they probably wouldn't say that because everyone's capable of virtue and unvirtue, but they might say that you're not a heretic, which might be good if for some reason you've had rumours circling you that maybe you are.
Yeah, it would be real good to get that. It would be real good.
You ain't gonna do that, though, are you?
I know some names. We could probably sort that.
I mean, if you could, that'd be sick.
There's a question that's sort of like gone out of screen. Do you have any specific costume or props that you use as a priest that show off that's your job? And if so, what is your favourite? Fallon Drow.
Lovely. So not someone that I told about the props that we were going to talk about. Then nice. Not one of my plants.
Yeah. Show off.
Yes. Okay. I'm a big fan of priest kit that fits your nation brief. So I'm from the League in character. I love really high church Borgia level stuff. So I have a lovely satin stole, which I have stitched embroidered patches of blue roses on, because those are a non-martial symbol of courage in the Empire, and I'm not a warrior by any stretch. My stole I got on eBay, and it is actually a real priest stole. I was very lucky. I found a guy that was just selling a load of priest stoles. I don't know why he had them. I decided not to ask. But most of the ones that he had crosses on. And crosses are not appropriate for Empire. They're not part of the Empire's religious iconography. But I got a plain one, and I sewed on the ends of it these lovely big blue rose patches that I got for like £2 on eBay. And the whole thing cost about a tenner, and it's great, and I love it. And I like putting it on when it's time to priest. Yeah. I do wear a chasuble, which is a full kind of vestment thing. I really, really enjoy kind of robing up. I once got summoned by 2 Navari dudes. They like arrived at the tent. They'd gone to the hub to look up a League Courage priest. They didn't know me, and my name is up on. If you've got a congregation, then your name is up on a printed list that the civil service keep. And for reasons they wanted to consult a League Courage priest, and they came to find me, and I was like, I will make them wait. And they were commanded to wait outside my tent while I put all my regalia on, and then I kind of sailed out and nearly fell over a clod of mud, to be honest. But it was really fun to come out in all of my regalia. It was really good. I also have an exorcism wand. This is my exorcism wand. It's a blue rose that is also on fire, because I am not a believer in subtlety. And it has a tower with bricks, because I'm from Holberg. And then the blue roses, sort of thorns, go all the way around. It's then got a looking glass with an angry looking tiny portrait of my character, because I also co-run a magazine called The Looking Glass in the League. And then it has little Holberg, little kind of Tudor-esque houses going around the bottom. So yeah, I had that custom made by 5011, who were on Facebook. Sabrina's brilliant. And I love going on skirmishes and pointing this, it's new, I will love going on skirmishes and pointing this at apparitions and uttering an incantation, which I haven't decided what it's going to be yet, and blasting them with courage. It's going to be great. So I definitely.
There's a question that's appeared in chat. I don't recognise this person's username. It says, "Talk about what the blue rose is."
You're referring to my in-character political movement called the Burning Rose. I'm not going to go into that just yet because we're on props. The blue rose, however, is the symbol associated with the exemplar of courage Gilda Ashwin, who you can look up on the wiki. Courage priests quite like blue roses if they're into what Gilda Ashwin stood for. She was a very anti-slavery exemplar, among other things. But my third prop is going to be these. These are my Liao vials. PD used to give these out free. Can you believe it? How generous! If you gender synod priest, you got free Liao in your pack. Amazing. Anyway, they obviously worked out that you only get a card now. They obviously worked out it wasn't very cost effective, I guess. So you can buy these from Scan More on the field, and I think they're brilliant. They are absolutely recognisable on the field as only containing Liao. You would not confuse these for any other potion, and I love them. And I always have a few on me for miming drinking and then getting slightly high and such. How do you fizz rep your Liao?
How do I fizz rep my Liao?
Yeah. Here we go.
I use candles because I'm a courage priest. And
no, you're not. You're an ambition priest.
I'm an ambition priest. Thank you. You've just been talking about it so much. I just want to be. You're making me convert.
I'm very I'm very influential, darling.
Very persuasive.
Yes, you are. So I just have like tiny candle in a jar.
That's very cool. I
And it
like that.
smells of pure ambition, doesn't it?
I mean, I think it
Or
does.
cinnamon.
So do you sort of inhale the fumes like the Delphic Oracle? Yeah, love it. I know someone
That's
else who
really cool.
pretends to snort the liao, you know, kind of like it's well, and I'm into all the different ways of consuming it. So it's
Yeah.
oh, I love it. Look at that, atmospheric. So
I
yeah,
know.
think about your
Looks
liao
awesome.
and how you're going to take it if you're going to play a priest. There's loads of cool ways to do it. Think about what you're going to say when you're role playing anointings and consecrations and the like.
Yeah.
I love
I've got a
these.
friend who does a wheel gesture, you know, because of the wheel of the way, which I really like.
Ginny, is there any other props that you want to talk through? After you're done, I might talk through my iconography that gets me in trouble with the priests as we're on this topic.
Go for the cool iconography. I want to see
Yeah,
that.
come.
That's
the primary reason that I am not in trouble with, but am the topic of discussion in many priests, is that I am closely aligned with one of the Eternals. And the fear is that, as someone asked a question earlier, the fear is that some people do start to worship them as gods. And so the Eternal that I am aligned with is called our Halogen. And a lot of the iconography of our Halogen is around venomous predatory animals. So snakes, scorpions, spiders, millipedes, all of that
Oh
kind
my
of thing.
God, I didn't know about the millipede thing.
One of its titles is Marshal of Centipedes? Marshal of Centipedes, Marshal of Millipedes, something like that. Yeah, which is a horrific vision. So things that I wear are this kind of spider medallion.
You hand those out to your mates as well in
And
character,
so
but we
this
won't go
one-
into our in-character fight.
This one's metal and very nice. Was made for
Real
me.
nice.
I have wooden ones of these that I do hand out to worthy and deserving people.
You could go around with a spray can graffitiing
and
spiders.
I
Not
could.
that you would, but
I could. That'd be great. And I also
it's a stencil.
wear this
Ooh, love it.
circlet, which is a spider as
It's
well.
strong
and so-
branding, isn't it, guys?
Strong branding, and so
Yeah.
that sits kind of there on my character. And this is the phys rep for an item given to me by our Halogen. So there's a lot of spider iconography that's going on around that. My wizard's rod that I use to cast spells sometimes is a spider. That's on loan to me from a friend who made it, which is very
I
nice.
love it. It's gorgeous.
That's really nice.
So-
yeah.
It's obviously highly controversial. It's very
Highly
pretty.
controversial, and my walking stick is a snake as well. So more not a spider, obviously. I couldn't find a spider one, but venomous
Are
creatures.
you a mage as well as a priest? Because you can be both.
So
I'm both.
I'm not a priest. I am just.
Oh
a
yes,
mage.
sorry, you're not a priest. I just keep
Not a priest,
keep
just a
forgetting
mage.
that.
No, indeed. The things I would have. I have frequent disagreements with my National Assembly in character. Obviously, it's all good fun.
Okay.
If I was a
Adam?
priest, I would have been able to skip
Sorry,
over that
I'm-
somewhat.
I'm-
Yeah, no, we'll stick on props. Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna. I feel I need to say something now. All of these, everything we're talking about is OC. Do not use
Oh, yes.
any. Please do not use any of this knowledge in the field. Okay.
Yeah,
Because with
Um,
everyone here is talking about things that they have done. They know.
as
Do-
examples.
Yeah. So don't use any of this knowledge in the field. Okay. If you
I
want
think
to know
it's
more
worth,
about it, go and speak to people. Simple
Please
as.
do use the general knowledge about the way.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, that's where you can still know what those things are. I will also, I guess, I'm loving the comments about taking Liao that are in the questions. Someone says, I snorted so much Liao during an exorcism spree once. I got someone to pop purple makeup around my nose. I think that's brilliant.
Well done, Scott.
That's great. Love it.
And Matt is saying that he thinks PD changed the Liao Fizz rep to cards because it's a consumable like herbs and mana.
Yeah, you need to be able to tear it, but
Yeah.
these are good for miming. Like I absolutely tear my card. I do the incantation, then I kind of just rip the card, so I'm not
The-
cheating.
I
And
think
then
the other reason was
yeah.
because they brought in mandates at that point,
Yeah.
and trying to get hold of 250 little bottles, you're carrying them around in sack. 250 stack
Horrible.
of cards is a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, there's a lot more than just cost it. But they're
Yeah.
really good fizz reps. They're really
Yeah.
nice.
I
Yeah,
also
not,
want
me
to
being a
call
single
out.
priest postdates them being coming in the pack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also wanted to call out Rosemary's comment there about taking Liao, which is rubbing Liao into
Onto
your
her
gills
gills.
really freaks people out, which
I love that.
absolutely love.
I
I
love
love it a
it.
lot.
Sorry,
Absolutely brilliant.
Adam. So carry on. You were talking about your iconography.
Sorry. Yes.
Before
I think
was so rude.
no, that's fine. I think I was done actually. Yes, great comment about not taking this stuff as in-character knowledge. However, I'm wearing all of this at the time and could absolutely have walked past you. So talking about that absolute ridiculous spider mage is a reasonable thing to do in character.
I think
if you
it's
so
worth
desire.
giving people the context that one of the reasons that your character is interested in our halogen is that that Eternal is associated with spring magic, and spring magic comes up a lot in play. So there is context for that. So it's not the case that you just gender character and we're like, I'm going to be really into spiders. Like, it has come up in play.
Yeah,
as a result
absolutely.
of national concerns around
And
war and spring magic and its role in the war and things.
Yeah, I'll add the complete contrast to that one because Mac is really interested in Kath and Kane for the simple reason.
Who is a summer eternal, isn't she?
Yeah, she is the
She's the ice
winter,
queen.
She's the ice queen, summer eternal, and Mac wants a castle. That's it.
No.
That's the only reason.
Just wants to come up bang in the middle of winter, Mark.
Yeah, I want a castle. I want to come into game and gone, I boned an Eternal and I've got a castle.
She does consort with the old
does.
mortal, doesn't she?
Yes.
So
You've got to be really glorious. Not glorious. She's not Dornish. You've got to be quite impressive in the daring summer sort of way.
She likes fortitude.
So
Anyway, I will give
So-
one more prop, actually, a shout out, which is that someone has written that they've heard my character has a cool courage medal. Quick
Yes.
plug for Armchair Armories. So this is my courage medal, and it has "Do not fear to act," which is one of the doctrines sort of inscribed around it. These are cast in resin by Armchair Armory. You can look them up on Facebook. They're really good. They're about $5 or something, so they're really nice. Or you can maybe make friends with some of the Skywise Fowl, who's one of the orcs in play. And you might get to see all of his, but there are a number of people walking around with these, and they're, I think, a really nice way to signal what virtue you're aligned with quite quickly. So mine has an axe on, because most of Courage's symbols that are not the blue rose are weapons or building materials. So it's hammers and axes all the way down.
Yeah. Bearded Viking has asked a good question. It's scrolled away.
we've also missed one.
I'll scroll back up as well and have a look at that one. So, so the group I'm part of has the Inquisitor of Prosperity, and he is always running around like a lunatic. As someone who is not that clued up on the priest game, what is the big difference in a normal priest and an Inquisitor?
So there is a really quick answer and a really long answer. So the really quick answer is a title and one free judgment a season to inquisit someone. The long answer is any priest can do an inquisition. Any priest has the capacity to do that, and they should definitely think about that. The concept of virtue inquisitors is a player-created post. It didn't exist at the start of the game, and Senate agreed to put it in after a lot of discussion. After I think Severin is the Imperial Inquisitor, and a lot of other people suggested that there should be more. Now each virtue has an elected inquisitor who is expected to know a bit more about how to inquisition people. The inquisitors have a tendency to meet up at least once a season to have a chat with each other to work out what they're doing. The Imperial Inquisitor can offer suggestions and guidance.
They sort of lead on best practice, don't they?
Yeah,
to use a terrible term from my work.
Yeah, fundamentally they are a subject matter expert, or they should be, but they don't have any greater scope than any other priest if that's a thing that you want to be interested in, apart from they get one extra judgment. And
That said, he is always running around like a lunatic, isn't he? So he obviously gets a lot of game. What game do you think Inquisitors get? Because I don't want to downsize the sense that title does come with some perks.
All the game, as far the game, I think is very player created. You don't get You don't get a Wind of Fortune saying you're going to inquisit someone unless it's like a really random one-off, like the Assaveyan Architect, for instance. Beyond that, though, it is very, very much a player's capacity to do that. So, what do you want to do with the scope of Inquisition? Do you want to sit there and say, I have a real interest in how the military council are doing their thing? I want to go out and check in on my nation's generals. So this season, I'm going to ask one of my generals if they want to be inquisited, because fuck it, I want to find shit out. Or you could be like, I heard this Wind of Fortune, there's a really cool plot. I'm going to talk to this person who's named in it. Let's inquisit them and find out.
A good chance to talk about the difference between having a congregation and being what the game calls a synod priest, and being someone who's taken the priest skills when they did their character gen. Because you can do one of the two or both. You don't actually have to do both. You can be a purely political priest. I don't think many people do this who doesn't do anointings.
I
They don't know how to do it. I think you do have to be able to dedicate, don't you?
You can have a
congregation with that. Oh, the more you know.
Now, one of the Cardinals of Courage has not had the power to dedicate people to courage.
Oh, cool. Basically, there's a set of priest skills that you can use through roleplay to, hop people up on a virtue, or hop an area up, or a tent, or an item, and then there's the whole political end of the game around posting things up in the hub. You cannot do both unless you have spent your points on being able to do both.
Thank you. Also, Imperial Orc priests cannot use Liao ceremonies.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
good point.
Thank you very much, Matt.
So there's different ways to play being a priest. I've gone the full political route because I love all the squabbling in the hub and all the meetings. I love meetings. I actually do really enjoy them. Some people really don't, but they like to be out on the ground giving pastoral advice and giving counsel without necessarily posting up judgments. And that's legit. You're still a priest. And also, if you're a priest, or you're even not a priest but dedicated to a virtue, you can still go along to the assembly. You can still go to your virtue assembly and see what's up and pop in for 5 minutes and see what they're arguing about. That's fun too.
Honestly, you don't have to be a priest to go along to your virtue assembly. I've had people come along to ambition assemblies who are dedicated and who just want to find out what's going on, or just want to ask for help with something, or who want a skill, or just come along if you're interested. The worst thing that happens is you're like, it's not for me after 10 minutes. And
so I would say, I go on about these bottles of Liao, but you don't necessarily have to use the Liao at all. You can still be a priest that impacts the game. There's several ways to go about priesthood in game. I personally love all of it. I love being asked for courage advice, but I also love the political end of stuff.
Liam's asked a question. There was mention about positive inquisition. What does that mean for someone who gets a positive inquisition? So he said if his character shows ambition by selling lots of goods and being a big trader, seller, what will happen to his character if he gets noticed for that?
I mean, it depends. So Inquisition, a list of every judgment and how much they succeed by gets put up on the wiki after every game. And you can literally read through and work out who said what, who's done what. It is, I'm going to go back to an earlier question that we missed. We talked about the board. So someone asked, what's this board you're talking about? If you go into the hub, there is there's different walls. You've got like the citizens board. You've got a section for conclave. You've got a section for the militia, and there is a giant section for
It's not technically a board; it's a big net. But you can't miss it. It's like a really big net, right? And it's got held on with tiny little clothes pegs. Are lots of bits of paper, and they've all been stamped with the names of the nation, the person, or the virtue assembly. The assemblies are the group, the meetings of. Yeah. So when you're a priest, you might choose to go to your national assembly, which is all the priests in your nation, or your virtue assembly, which is all the priests in your virtue, or both if you're a real glutton for meetings.
Or the general assembly. Oh, sorry.
But yeah,
not
the
general
board
meeting.
is where all of those, they're called judgments or statements of principle, go up, and those get voted on and people discuss them.
Yeah.
And they can be very controversial, and judgments you can see a judgment you don't like and then put up a counter judgment going, oh, well, actually, the synod priest Leonora van Holberg calls out the synod priest Vivian de Kurdifer, and I would point out that I've never done this to Ginny because we're friends, but like, you know, you can properly go to war.
Yes. Yeah. I like to call it the writing on the wall because it sounds cool and it's memorable.
I had a Hallow War in the hub once. My cardinal put a poster up which said some quite angry things, and we hallowed it. I had someone hallow it to Pride. It was the hallowing of the diplomat, which means that when you look at this poster, you want to discuss things in a polite manner. You know, be proud of everyone. Anyway, someone else came along who thought the poster was a load of crap, and they hallowed it with a different hallowing where you want to despise idiots. Basically, it was one of the hallowings where you want to use everybody as tools, and then I saw that, and I got another priest to counter hallow the poster back to the hallowing of the diplomat. So the fur was flying that day in the hub. So it's definitely a good place to go for drama.
This goes really nicely into the question here. What, if any, have been your favourite usages of hallowings, anointings, consecrations, priestly powers to help drive characters?
I wasn't even doing the hallowing in the Hallow War. I was just asking other people to do it.
Doesn't
I
matter.
was just instigating because I didn't know how to hallow at that point.
Hey,
but
Adam,
it is one of my
really
favourites.
quiet.
Yeah. Let me stop talking.
I mean, other people. Anyway, Adam, do you get hallowed? Do you get anointed? What
Yeah, do you go high?
I have never been anointed. I've never
What?
held a hallowed item. I've barely been in an area that's been consecrated.
Okay, you can stop now. You can stop. It's fine.
Wow.
I don't know if this is a good point for me to talk about Seros's relationship, or as some may say, lack thereof, with the Way. But Seros has had a lot of different discussions with various priests of various virtues about getting dedicated. An inquisitor who will remain nameless has suggested very strongly that Seros become dedicated in order to ward off some of these accusations that comes against him and these kind of things. And that was maybe, that comment to Seros was maybe, was it a year ago? It might be a year or a year and a half ago now. And that sent Seros on a bit of a inward looking kind of journey of what virtue he would become dedicated to. And so as part of that, he experimented with thinking about the different virtues and such. As it happened, that's kind of come to a head in a acceptance that he is a disciple of the Way rather than a disciple of any of the virtues, which unfortunately you cannot get dedicated to. It doesn't really solve the issue. But to bring this full circle, as a result of not being dedicated to any one virtue, he's not really the target of many of those virtue-aligned effects.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's cool.
Yet.
And he may still find his spiritual home in one of the virtues for sure. It's not over for sure.
My character got drunk and nicked someone's coat, and I've still got the fizz rep, and because I got left in my tent, and I'm thinking about hallowing it before I give it back, so that when he gets it back and he puts his coat on, he's like, "Ooh, courage boost." It's a bit naughty, but like I'd have to I'd go and get a ribbon off of God, you know, and then he'd obviously he's gonna see it and be like, "She's bloody hallowed my coat."
That's amazing.
But I haven't done it yet. So, but it's definitely been in my head because his coat is sitting in my flat, and then lockdown came, so I've basically got this coat and I've had it for ages.
Brilliant.
Sorry, pal.
I have held the hallowed knife of Make You Do the Thing.
I did that once.
And it was bad. I nearly got arrested and I nearly murdered someone because
Oh, was that the knife of you want to punish unrighteous, unvirtuous people when you hold
no,
this knife?
they gave it to me after I'd had an argument with someone, and I was so angry. I was literally, and then they went, "Here you go, have that," and I literally turned straight back round, and I was running. I had to get hacked down. So the Hallows out there are fantastic. They are such good role play effects on you, and like consecrations as well, where you're just like chilled and stuff like that, where you can be proud of things. It's like when Mac went to Wintermark and he came and told his family, there was a pride spear doing the rounds in the 2 feet. And so when I went and told my uncle in character, I'm no longer in the Navarre, I'm leaving to go to Wintermark, he was just like, so angry, but I'm also so proud. It's like, we're gonna have words about this, but I'm so proud of you, Mac.
Really cool.
So
I really
proud.
like testimony. I think testimony is one of my favourite priest skills for like lovely, intense, intimate, perhaps combative, depending on your speed, role play. You know, there's a character with an imperial title who has lovely beekeeper on his soul because of something my character offhandedly said, which her terrible friends then went and testimonied him with. And he, you know, he's not really a very fluffy, approachable guy, and he's got lovely beekeeper on his soul. So he had a hat with a really big veil attached. And one of my character's friends was like, "Oh, look at him! Doesn't he look forbidding?" And my character went, "I think he looks like a beekeeper." And then now he's got a lovely beekeeper on his soul. And
That's amazing.
so yeah, you don't necessarily need someone's consent to testimony them. I think you kind of do, in that you can't just fire one off at somebody without interacting with them.
Yeah.
I think they do sort of. There is an implicit sense in which the role play is consensual, but I have definitely known people who've been, you know, they've been on trial, and part of the punishment has been that they've had, you know, awful oathbreaker type testimonies stuck on their souls, which you can remove them again, you know, when you've atoned. So they're very double-edged things.
Yeah.
I enjoy the game of valid testimony, which is trying to figure out amusing testimonies in the field that you can put on people. There we go. Yes, the target doesn't have to be willing, but they need to be close enough to be touched. You can't just look at someone and go, "I'm testimonying them."
Yeah. Thanks. I was literally just doing the same.
Yeah.
Just want to say thank you, Slyvian, for cheering as well. I can't remember what that means. I think they paid money or given money or something like that. I can't remember, but thank you. That's awesome. Yes, my old character had testimony done, and it was honourable leader, and then got executed. So literally got executed. Yeah, for something he didn't do, but not that I'm salty at all. So, but it was the role play was immense. Absolutely.
I think
immense.
it's
so good.
It's a nice gloss. This I've heard people explain it that you don't have to be a priest to be a member of the synod, but you also don't have to be a member of the synod to be a priest.
Yeah.
Is that a good way of glossing it? I reckon that's a good way of glossing it. Yeah.
So, I have a question. When as priests and things like that, do you ever? Because I mean, everybody. I mean, I suppose all priests want their virtue to be the number one virtue. Want everybody to follow their virtue and all of that. Do you get like competitive, and do you like stand on street corners saying, "All come and
Feeling for courage.
Come and follow wisdom over here. It's wise to follow wisdom. It's courageous to change this. It's showing loyalty to the empire by following wisdom." It's. See,
I think this raises a good point in that I'd like to see more street preaching at Empire because I love it. I went to a player event just before lockdown really hit, about 2-3 weeks before it became impossible to go anywhere. This was in a converted church, this player event in Highguard, and there was a pulpit. There was an actual honest to God pulpit. Well, it was deconsecrated. And I got to get in the pulpit and do a speech. There's some photos of me kind of wildly gesticulating from a pulpit, and you can't do that in the field. No one's put a pulpit in the field yet. So I would love some more Speaker's Corner type stuff. I love public interaction. I love it in the League. We've got an area of the field called the Plaza where lots of drama sometimes breaks out,
Yeah.
duels and things. And I'd love more of that in general. Because you don't see a lot of it, I think. Partly because when it rains, who wants to stand out in the street leafleting? But you do get leafleting not for, I wouldn't say there's much competition necessarily between the assemblies of the virtues. The nations get into interesting scuffles in the synod, such as, there was a very bold priest who put up a statement of principle saying that a town in Navarre, an area of Navarre, were getting towny enough that they should join the League and be a city. And this obviously really, really annoyed a number of Navarre characters, and also annoyed some Leaguers who just, were a bit like, haven't we got enough to deal with trying to repair Savos? So, it caused loads of international conflict.
I would
but-
love to play a proper soapbox preacher to just turn up,
Yeah.
stand outside a bar all day and just preach at everyone walking past, and probably pick something that's just slightly off the beaten path, maybe, just so that you get a little bit of interaction from priests walking past, so they're not just like, yes, you're saying courage is good, that's fine. So something just a little bit, give people an in to interact with you, and most people will just ignore you, or try and drink their pint in peace in the pub, and just preach out to the streets would be a great way to spend one weekend. Maybe not several in a row, but to do it as
I think the question of whether one virtue is more important than all of them, or how you go about observing the other virtues, or if you even need to, if you can stick to one, all of that comes up in play. There's lots of debate about that in play. If you go and talk to a sword scholar, you will hit that debate almost immediately, because they are all pretty much dedicants. They are wisdom dedicants, and there's recently been developments in play around how much power they have in the synod, and there are definitely characters with views that is wisdom having too much power in the synod. What about the other virtues? And there's all that stuff going on. So I would say, rather than, you don't necessarily get people shilling for their virtue in that way, but you do get that stuff. That stuff is there.
Matt Dawswood has mentioned Medea Ruth, who is a fantastic soapbox preacher in a very, very specific way.
Yes, she's played by Kerry, and Kerry Owen, who's now where is Kerry playing now? Marches. And she was a wonderful character. She had extremely hard line, extremely traditionalist views, which got her into trouble in some cases, certainly socially.
That'll be
you can definitely do it.
That'll be an interesting one for new players to do. Ask about her in the field, because there's a lot of stuff there. She did a lot. She did an awful lot. Rosemary's asked a question. What are some major misconceptions you've had to deal with while playing priests?
Wisdom, prosperity, ambition, pride, vigilance, courage and loyalty.
Courage is pretty straightforward. I think courage sounds like it in all the books. It's Homeric. It's the understanding that you have from pop culture of courage pretty much applies in the game. I think wisdom's slightly different. What do you think?
Wisdom is massively different, because we say wisdom, we think wise, grey-bearded sages who sit around and think a lot. The most common thing that I have heard someone who doesn't know anything about wisdom is to say the wise thing is to find out more about this before we make a decision. Wrong. The wise thing is to do a thing as hard as you can and find out what happens afterwards. And then,
but also to ask the right questions.
If you fuck up, you get to go back and do it all over again. Wisdom means the scientific method of shoving your face into it. Tell me I'm wrong. Prosperity is so sort of like ethical capitalism. It isn't just get all the money. It is.
It has strong. It has a strong flavour of how I would understand the term OC in terms of bounty and being interested in generating bounty. So prosperity, the visual language of prosperity, like cornucopias, that all definitely applies. But there's also some stuff about not hoarding and sharing your wealth, which only applies OC if you're also adding in some moral dimensions, I guess.
The Navarre view on that whole element is a totally separate thing, which I think is quite interesting culturally, in that they view prosperity as being as opposed to cash as being the interpersonal relationships that you foster as a result of your actions. And it's a much more political view on your capital or your social capital that you have to leverage than just the money that you have. And that's also part of prosperity.
So weirdly enough, exactly the same thing crops up in both Dawn and Urizen. And I think that a lot of that ties into the Great Dance, the Web of Fate, and True Love, all of which, as hearth magics, say massively strongly, ties to other people matter, yo.
All of the half magics have something to do with giving often anyway, with the giving of a gift or the giving of an item. So there's favors, there's rings, there's food now in Navarre, sharing food.
Mhm.
I'm so excited to offer someone from Navarre half a Rivita and have them freak out or love it more than I expect.
I'm
The
really
emotionally pregnant Rivita. I'm so ready to go up to some absolute enemy and give them a Rivita. It could
I'm
be
very
you.
excited about
It could be you, Adam. You could
the
receive my
changes to-
accidentally symbolic Rivita.
I'm really excited about the changes to the Navarre, or the additions, not even changes, to the Navarre Hearth Magic, which are a little off topic, and so I won't go into so much. But their implications on the religion game are very interesting because they have that, the food especially, of that sitting down to a meal to discuss something important builds into their Great Dance view of prosperity, in that you are not just having a transaction or spending money and buying a thing, but you are fostering that relationship between those two parties.
I think the national takes on prosperity are actually really interesting. So the League is a hugely capitalist space, because I can see people in the comments talking about Navarre being a little bit more
Communist.
into sharing stuff. The League is complex though. So yeah, Holberg has a slightly more us against them attitude internally, I think, because of the siege. There's a lot of guilds working together, stuff going on in there as well, but there's also lots of competition, economic competition. But there's also a strong, almost Victorian commitment to institutionalized charity. You know, the Church of the Little Mother is a massive chain of orphanages that go all over the League. And there's this really strong sense that, you know, today's street performer might be tomorrow's merchant prince, and you've got to be willing to show off your wealth by financing and sponsoring people into those paths, and also paranoid that tomorrow's merchant prince might be on the up and coming to get you. So there's the constant willingness to invest, and also awareness that investing a lot might involve people toppling you, but also you want them to try because competition is great and it's how you're tested. So it kind of just goes on forever. I love those loops of prosperity thinking that you get in the League's particular competitive Renaissance economy. Renaissance-esque, I would say. It's not necessarily a genuinely historically accurate take on the Renaissance. It's a very romanticised idea, the cultural idea of the Renaissance. I've written an essay on this, which is off topic.
The ideas
Go on,
around,
Diddy, you go.
the ideas around ambition and pride are also really, really difficult. Like, for if you look at the list of the number of priests in different in different things, ambition is always one of the lowest. This
surprises me so much.
Not at
your
all.
assembly's quite banging, isn't it? It's quite buzzing. There's always peeps there.
And
right.
But the number of people who come to me and say, I'm playing a priest of ambition because I want to help other people do stuff. Because we are told, and not even told, it's saturated in the foundation of Judeo-Christian growth, blessed are the meek. It's bad to put yourself forward. Don't demand, don't push. And getting over that is hugely, hugely important out of character. Ambition is not about sitting there and saying, I want that and therefore I'm going to take it. It's saying instead, we have the power and the capacity in game to be bigger than we were.
I actually love playing with those assumptions though, because I play a character who's occasionally quite meekly neurotic about herself, and regularly has to be told by your character that she, you know, ambition means she should get up there and make a speech. But I love occasionally being interpersonally highly awkward and a bit useless, and then going home, picking up a pen and writing my in-character magazine, which is quite sharp and which is fully ambitious. So in the league, those different guises can come to the fore and can allow a lot of different presentations. So I also want to make the point that you can play your character any way you want, and people, if you're really, really self-effacing, eventually a pride priest is going to rock up and go, change your demeanor, but you don't have to. There's lots of ways to skin the virtue cat, as it were.
Absolutely. I'm not in any way saying you must be a graspy whatnot, but it's a major misconception is that ambition is greedy, that ambition is selfish. Ambition, according to the virtues, is, I will always tell the story of the loyalty priest who converted to ambition because ambition was more loyal. You need.
I love that. I will also say that as a woman, it's been really interesting to play in a space that where you can argue for vanity. As a positive feature of your character, that's actually been really good for me. That's been pretty great. To hang out with, to roll in a posse of leaguers who are openly proud of what they're doing. That's been quite fun. So
pride and ambition are massively misconceived. People sit there and go, but aren't they the bad ones? No, fuck it.
I think it's also great being able to be like, you might be proud, but you're also selfish. There's lots of nuance in the game where you can be like, you may be very proud, but what about the vigilant problem over that? What about the other components of the way that you are not adhering to or whatever? It's great. The way is very elastic.
Yeah.
I think it's worth us tackling the are we the bad guys thing, isn't it? So lots of new players rock up on Facebook and they go, the way seems pretty evil to me. Is the way bad? And then there's always the same debate. Which I'm now really tired of, actually.
We are the baddies.
Where a bunch of people go, I'm playing a goodie, so the way is really good. And then a bunch of people go, the way is amoral. And then another bunch of people go, no, we're the bad guys because the Empire is inherently imperialist. And all those arguments have weight in different directions, I think. I don't think any of them are wrong.
Yeah.
But I think it's really complicated. I think you can play a real baddie who's super virtuous, and I kind of love that. In a real, what we OC call a real baddie, you can commit a ton of war crimes and be able to justify them in the way, and people have. But you can also be a real goodie. You can also be a super golden heroic character who goes around saving tons of people, and you can argue that their ambition was to do that. So Gilda Ashwin delivers her brother out of slavery and is an exemplar. But then you've also got Berechiah, who's like, commit crimes, just be accountable, man. He's an ex-leaguer, and you can really tell.
Is it worth us talking about taking an example or taking one of the virtues of something and saying this is how you could interpret this in a way that is more by our morals good, and this is how you could interpret it in by our morals evil?
So
to contrast them,
let's have a go.
We can if you want, but
we can have a go, but we might all just break out into argument because that's the beauty of the way.
So,
go on, Ginny had a classifier to this.
Yeah, so this gets into the third type of priest. We've talked about pastoral priests with using priest skills to go out and talk to people. We've talked about political priests using congregational authority to put the writing on the wall and use their statements and inquisit people. There's also theological priests who sit there and are like, but what if this? But what if this? We have fundamentally the doctrines of virtue. We have the auras. We have past life visions. And this is the concrete evidence that we actually have. We have to build on that framework. We have to assume, because thank you, Nicovar, we have to assume that our ancestors knew what they were talking about when they said that the doctrines were true.
For anyone who hasn't read that bit of the wiki, because the wiki is enormous, Nicovar is a previous emperor who went, who had a number of emotional problems, whose mental health went a bit off the boil, and he ended up ordering the burning of a lot of libraries. So there are missing chunks.
Allegedly ordered.
I mean, he literally. Really? Right. Well, he's generally believed to have done that.
By and large, a lot of history only exists after Nicovar.
There we go. There's the link in the chat. And basically that's why there are things to debate over in terms of where did this bit of doctrine
come from?
How did we discover the way?
Yeah.
And that's great because the wiki's already real huge. And if PG had written any more of it, you'd have to do a lot of homework before you could come play. Not that you have to do any of it. Like I learned an awful lot. I remember not remembering all the names of the cities in the league when I first got on the field. I was like, "So where are you from?" And they'd go Sarvos, and me in my head, I'd be like, "I need to remember what Sarvos is." But I've been playing like 7 years now, so all of that is now in my head. But like, if you're a new player, don't worry about remembering every single thing that you come across on that wiki because it's real overwhelming. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Chill,
100%.
relax. We got you. You got you. It's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, the examples of.
I mean, if you don't think it'll be interesting, then we won't. Absolutely. I am not the subject matter expert.
What
The
I was going to say is because I try to limit these streams to an hour. We've been
Oh,
going for
no.
an hour and a half.
Whoops.
What I think we'll do is if anyone in the chat has got any more questions or anything, we will do a part 2 because I have been I rarely shut up
Right,
in
keep
streams.
going, keep going.
Shut up, Matt.
Question.
Question, can you...
Yes.
They're all night, available for weddings and bar mitzvahs.
I have I rarely shut up during these streams. I rarely shut up, and this is the quietest I've ever been because I've been fascinated by the whole
It's
thing.
because you met us. I'm really sorry.
There's just so much to talk about. You can argue philosophy forever. You can talk about virtues and how they go.
And priests do. We are a chatty bunch. And we haven't even talked about stormcrows and different archetypes of priests, like different troubadours, stormcrows, bishops, or guides, all that stuff. Maybe we'll do a part 2. We could do a part 2. I'd be happy to do a synod-specific judgment-related part 2, maybe. I will say there's been a comment in the thread that says, "Could mirrors be a symbol of vanity?" Mirrors are actually part of League half magic, which is why I've got a mirror on me rod. But like mirrors are massive in the league. They have a massive significance. So it might be worth having a look on the wiki for that. I would say they could be a symbol of vanity, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
They've said that it's been incredible to see me so quiet.
I feel like I should apologise.
As well. No, it has been absolutely fascinating. Matt's now saying, should we just keep asking questions so we have to carry on?
I've got nothing else scheduled this evening, so.
I have a child who goes to bed in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I'd better let you go and sort that out then, you know what?
So
she's upstairs like, yeah, I want to stay up.
So I think what will be good is if you three are free again, we'll do.
I'm so busy right now. Really, I really am. I'm going out all the time.
So we can do a part.
Write up questions before.
Yes.
Yeah, please do.
So what we'll do is I'll put an announcement out to say we're doing a part 2. Ask questions. And then we'll do it as literally as we'll just question answer. Yeah, we'll just go bang, 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 and we'll get through it all because I knew there was a lot. I didn't realise there was this much.
Whole bunch. It's a highly developed area of game. Yeah.
I really need to read more of the wiki, I think, as well.
You don't have to though, because priests don't shut up. They want to tell you everything. You just rock up and go, "I've got a question," and then you'll never leave for 3 hours.
I've learned that the hard way.
You don't have to read anything, but this will be a 12-part series. Yes. So.
Has everybody been to the toilet? I don't want to be interrupted. In this essay, I will.
If you want us to do like one for each virtue or like stuff like that.
Nation.
Different priests.
I really want to hear more about other nations' priests because I don't even know where the Navarre National Assembly meet. I have this image of you all sitting in the woods having a little powwow, and I just
they actually don't sit in the woods. They go outside the woods. They go outside the woods for it.
Does the Navarre sit in the woods?
Matt's just said this is by far the most entertaining feed he's seen up to now. Well done. Thank you so much, Matt. It means a lot, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much. So,
Armchair Armory, check them out. They're real good.
Yeah,
but yeah, let's schedule
at reasonable prices.
Let's schedule a session 2. Potentially a few more sessions, set topics, questions, etc. Sounds like a good idea.
I think we'll end up doing a lot of these. I think so. Sorry, John, you're going to say?
Tell Yeti who you want here because I love talking about priesting forever. Mim loves talking about priesting forever, but
Mim loves talking.
So many different points of view as well. It's just amazing.
For sure. If we set topics for future ones of these, I will probably drop out until there's a topic that I can actually add to, because a lot of them I won't be able to. No. Absolutely. It's
How
a valid
dare
point.
you?
As
Bold
a
of you to assume that you would not be co-opted.
I have no choice. I just come in and talk about stuff I've half heard walking past on the field. It's absolutely fine. I can talk about that. But yes, let's let you get back to your child.
Yes.
And
Thank
wrap up
you.
this
It's been
evening.
really, really fun.
Yeah. So we will do this. We'll keep on going, and we will get more people done. They say get a priest from each nation. That won't be far too confusing. There will only ever be, as a maximum, 4 people on this. So we can swap Adam out, and we can get Adam back in as and when, because
Yeah,
we can.
no, absolutely.
So so we will do that, and then we will grill them, and you can ask any questions, and it will be good for new players as well to ask questions about everything to do with it as well, and especially for specific nations too. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
so we can deal with League and Dawn. Is it League and Dawn? League and Dawn here. So that's fine. So I think it would probably be good to get an orc.
It'd be very good to get an orc.
We'll get an orc priest. See if we can get an orc priest in, and then for the next one, and we can go from there.
Dorswood and Fowl are both literally on the
In
screen.
the chat already.
Yeah, exactly.
He writes lovely IC letters.
Funny that. So we'll get someone on if they want to do it, and then we'll do that, and then we can go on from there and go for more and more questions.
Cool.
So,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite to a priest, and I talk more than Mim.
Oh, sorry for all my talking, guys.
What? Don't be sorry. It's good talking. Stop.
It's literally what you're here for.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, I'm an ADHD fueled excitement machine, and I haven't been LARPing in a while.
Oh, no, tell me. But
This is how I'm
you
going
haven't
with
been
it, too.
talking over people, so it's fantastic, which has been really, really good.
I've tried.
No, you've been really, really good. It's been fantastic. So we'll get another one sorted. We'll do more about it, everything, and think of questions, and we'll go on from there. So I think we'll aim for an orc next, because I think that'll be the one, because I don't have a clue. So I'm learning here. We're doing well. So everyone in chat, thank you so much for coming along.
Yeah, cheers, guys. It was really good.
It's been absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate everyone coming along to watch. Thank you for the questions. It's been absolutely awesome.
And the corrections when we needed correcting. We're all tired here.
And thank you, Matt, for putting the links in as well. That's been a great.
Yeah, that was really nice actually, because
So,
I couldn't remember my Twitch password, so I couldn't put them in, and I kept wanting to. So cheers, that was good.
So that's really, really good as well. So
And somebody said we should sit up straight and stop chewing, and I wasn't sure which, but I've never sat up straight in my life. The league kit brief allows me to not have to stand up straight because the dresses come up here and I can just slouch. So sorry, guys. I've never knowingly sat up straight in my life.
Matt's now going to start messaging people, so everyone's
exciting.
been warned. So thank you everyone for watching. I'll call it there.
Go in virtue.
Or in heresy, that's fine too. We'll I'll put this one up onto YouTube, so we'll put this one up, and probably tomorrow it'll go up, and then we can I think you mean idolatry. Thank you, Rosary. Yes, we do.
Rosemary's got my back. She's got my back.
Oh, she really does. Yeah,
she knows.
She's awesome.
So we can do a whole thing on religious crimes.
Yeah, we will. Oh, believe me, we will.
That's the most amazing out of context quote for this chat. It's going to do a whole thing of religious crime.
So,
yay.
Right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining me on the stream. Thank you very much, chat. Bye-bye.
Bye.